journey, and I'm still evolving, I'm still growing, I'm still becoming. So when I answer the question, it can only be relevant to today, because tomorrow I might be a completely different person. So for today, I am mom. I am a daughter, I am a sister, and I am a friend. For me personally, I'm a very complex individual, I would say at the moment. I've gone through a lot in life, and I'm still discovering who I am. I know I'm deeply spiritual. I know I try to do the best in whatever I can do. I know I try to keep people close. I try to make people smile. I try to inspire. And so in terms of who I am, I think I'm just learning who I'm becoming as well. So it's really, really difficult to answer who I am.
Constantly evolving.
Constantly evolving.
Cool. No, that's a great answer. I think it's probably all we can expect today. Now, this is such an amazing event. We are all here for you and the launch of 3 books, no less. So all 3 books being launched in one night. Now, that's wow, wouldn't you? After wow, I think we're probably all wondering why.
Okay, the first book is actually a sequel to my first book, Did the Right Sperm Win? So this one is Did the Right Sperm Win Book 2, which was always in the works because I intended it to be a trilogy of books. So the third one is on its way. The other 2 was actually written not to become books, but actually written just to express my emotions for the things that I was going through at the moment. So Vignettes is actually a collection of poems, which actually just reflects all the mood that I was going through as I was journeying through the last 2 years. So the poems there, some of them are quite somber, because that's the mood I was in at the moment, and then some are quite joyful, because towards the end I actually found who I was, and found my real smile. So you'll actually see throughout the pages, the journey I was on by the poems are there. And the final one, which is the theme of this event, of course, is Behind My Smile. Because I think Daniel touched on it and Gillian touched on it when they say that your smile is sometimes a mask. And I think one of the things that you get is that when you're a very strong person, people rarely stop to ask, how are you? And if they ask, how are you? Then the expectation is that your answer is okay. So they don't really stop to listen or read the body language to say you're not actually okay. But that book was actually written as a journal, first of all, just to journey, just to vent or express what I was going through at the moment, and then I just collated everything into a book.
And that was Behind My Smile.
Behind My Smile.
Okay. Now you mentioned that Did the Right Sperm Win? 1, 2, and you say there's going to be a 3rd. Okay. So there's going to be a series of books there. So let me ask you the question: Did the right sperm win?
Oh yes. Just a short story. Just before I came into the room, the gentleman that was in charge of the room actually came in and said, "Oh, can I ask one person question?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he said, "We were discussing in a meeting downstairs. What type of book are you producing?" So I had to autograph a copy, gave it to him, and gave him the story behind the Right Sperm One. So he actually got it and said, okay, it's off my beat, and he's actually going to take it to ask people around the world, do you think the right sperm? In my case, I think yes.
I think we have to agree with you. Yeah. By a long shot. Okay, so that was the first book. You've got the trilogy. I've already mentioned that.
Right.
Did the Right Sperm Win? How successful was that first book?
With that first book, I didn't know anything about book marketing. I was actually challenged by my friend Kat to write a book, because her states that if you're speaking, you need a book. So I had to go and do a book to make sure I had some credibility. Now, to show you sometimes how very random things happen, a few months after I wrote the book, I met this friend, and he was a Sikh, and I was fascinated. I wanted to find out, tell me the story about being a Sikh. How is it? Is it different from my religion? So we had a conversation, and then he said to me at the end, can I pay you to speak, to teach me how to speak? And I said, no, don't be silly, I'll do it free of cost if you just share the journey and be the Sikh. And then he said to me, who is your favorite motivational speaker? And I gave him a list of 5. And then he said to me, I'm going to see Les Brown tomorrow. And I thought, yeah, sure. And then he said, I'll give him a copy of your book and see what he thinks. And I said, okay. And I gave him the book, not expecting to hear anything else. And I went home the night and I think I was struggling. Now, when I'm at home, I have this thing that I do with my son, Jonathan, sorry to embarrass you. I would sit and I would pretend like I'm being interviewed by Oprah or somebody small. So I'm just sitting there and saying, oh yes, Oprah, nice of you to call me, and go through the entire thing. Much to the annoyance of my family. So I was lying in bed and I said, you know, God, I need a sign to say I'm going in the right direction. Just a little sign to say I'm on the right track. And then my phone rang and I looked at it and it was an unknown number. And so I put it down and said, I'm not answering a call, it's after 8 p.m. Then the phone rang again, and it was the same number. And I'm like, it must be a cold caller. I'm just going to hang up. And I hung up then and put it to the side. And then it rang the third time, and I picked it up with a noise. I said, hello. And the person said, is this Vinette? And I said, yes. And the person said, well, this is Les Brown. So I said, shut up. And then he said, okay. Well, you know, Les Brown has a very distinctive voice. And I'm like, could it be? No. And then I said, is it really Les Brown? And he said, yes, Vinette. Raj just gave me your book. I love your book. And I'm going to give you an endorsement. So I rushed out into the landing and I said, Mom, it's Les Brown. And she's like, yeah, sure. I said, really, this time it's true. So I had to put it on speaker for her to hear that Les Brown is actually on the line. So he did an endorsement. And then I got quite a few reviews in America, and then it just actually self-propelled from there.
That's
so,
quite a long
yeah,
Did the Right Spoon win 1 and 2? You opted for storytelling throughout those books. Now that's quite an alternate route from the traditional way of writing. So is there any special reasons for going down that route?
I think one of the things in Jamaica, quite a lot of societies, is that storytelling is usually a traditional method of actually passing on principles or passing on things. And being from a Jamaican background, I can remember my grandmother, if you even ask her the direction, she's going to tell you, well, long ago when the so-and-so was there was a mango tree over there, she'll tell you a full story. But looking back now, I can remember those stories with a lot of joy, and they've actually kept in my memory. So I opted for storytelling because I think quite often when you're giving people a message, I don't like to go for the cliche, believe in yourself, do that. I don't like the cliche. So I think if you embed it in a story, people are more likely to remember the story, and in sharing the story, the message gets passed on a little bit easier.
It's very true. We've heard a few stories tonight, of course, many true stories, but they really do help to resonate with every single one of us. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Now, I have, of course, read books, and I have to admit, I struggle to find my favorite story within book 2 I'm referring to, because, of course, there are great messages in all of them. But I have to ask, what's your favorite story? Do you have one?
I have many from book 2, but I think I'm going to lean to, if I can remember correctly, story 25. I think story 25, I shouldn't even tell you until you buy the book, should I?
Give them a little taster, a little insight.
Story 25 is about forgiveness, and it's about somebody that went seeking forgiveness because they wanted to forgive everyone and actually make the world a better place. And of course, if you're religious, it usually talks about forgiveness in every religion. Now, what is actually poignant is a lot of people will work very hard in forgiving people, but most people tend to forget themselves in forgiving the things that they have done. So sometimes you have to look on the inside and realize that you are worthy just as everybody else that you're dealing with. And sometimes you've done things, doesn't determine your worth, doesn't say who you are, it probably is just a mistake at that time. And so you have to learn to really forgive yourself and face each day afresh, just as you would forgive somebody else.
Absolutely, we've been hearing that, especially from Daniela. Thank you for sharing your story, it's amazing. But yeah, you're absolutely right, it does start. And as Gillian said, you've got to put your own, your mask on first before you can be in a position to help anybody else. So I absolutely, I'm sure we all agree with you on that score. Now, your mum, Teslin, has been mentioned a couple of times this evening, and she is mentioned in quite a lot of your work, actually, and in particular your poems. she seems to play quite a pivotal role in your life. And would you like to expand on that? You're going to get me going.
I think, well, first of all, I think my mom is probably one of the most miserable persons I've ever She still believes that I'm about 10 years old, so she still tells me, what time are you coming home? And if I step, she's like, you're not wearing that, are you? So she's really a typical Jamaican mom, but my mom is a person I can depend on, regardless. She's always honest and to the point. So I know sometimes mothers tend to gloss things over. And I think mom, coming from a strong Christian and Jamaican background, she's never afraid to say, you're wrong, you need to do this, you need to apologize, you need to do that type of thing. And I really appreciate her there as sometimes a moral compass to remind me of how to act, how to behave. So even though I'm this age, I think one of the things I appreciate is that she still can instruct me to say, do this or don't do that. And even if I disagree with her, and even if it's a contentious issue, she remains who she is and she keeps her she keeps all her rules. Even though she stayed with me here, it's still her rules. I couldn't have asked for a better mom. And one of the things I'm grateful for is, I know quite often we look back and regret to say we didn't do it when our parents were around. And one of the things I'm most grateful for is events like this where my mother can actually share and be a part of it with me. She has sacrificed so much. I can remember when my mother used to wear one shoe just to make sure we had shoes to go to school. And she did it with a smile. She was never complaining, never murmuring, never anything. And even today, if I call her my mom, regardless of where she is, she'll always come running. And it's the same for all 4 children. So right now she's retired. She's meant to be retired and back in Jamaica. And I have 2 siblings there, and 2 of us are here, my sister and myself. And it's a constant argument. You say, oh, you had her last 6 months, we need her this 6 months. So she's still been run ragged. And I think it's just the appreciation that her kids have for her, for all that she has sacrificed and all that she has done for them. So thank you, Mom. Yeah.
Now, you're launching 3 books this evening. We've already mentioned that. But tonight is all about the book entitled Behind My Smile. How long did it take to write that book?
Like I said, that book was more of a journal, so it evolved over about 2 years. It's about 2 years of my life, and it was literally just putting in entries after entries every day, I would write a little bit until eventually it became a book. Okay, so an evolving journal. So how did it feel going through that journey? I think at the moment I was writing the book, the intention wasn't ever for publication. So it was more actually just getting things out of my system. And because I didn't have anyone to actually sit down and speak to about what I was actually going through, so the only thing I could do was write. And I think a lot of my emotion was actually written on the pages. So when you read the book, you'll actually understand my journey and what I've actually been through in order to get that book written. So it wasn't an easy process.
So the process being just journal entries, just writing things down as the thoughts and experiences were occurring?
It came from a point when I felt that if I didn't get it out of my system, I was going to go crazy. And because I'm from a background where we tend not to share